That's all, isn't it? We are creating an annoying person through interpreting this in a certain way and believing that they're annoying from their own side. Oh, they're the source of my suffering. Get them out of here. So we are creating that by not realizing the interdependency, not realizing that we are creating this annoying person in our conceptual framework.
Yeah, but there are some people who are annoying. Like most people will think that this food it's really tasty. No, it's not that I imagine it's tasty, like everything.
But isn't that perception of being tasty? It's you create that through your experience.
Yes.
Right. And then if you know that experientially, you can fully enjoy that food without craving it. So if we realize this, and we have some pleasant experience, we can fully enjoy that pleasant experience. Now we don't, because our craving goes, oh, that's going to make me happy. I need that. If I don't get it, I'm going to get frustrated. And even if I get it, oh, am I going to get enough of it? Is it going to last? And so we destroy our pleasant experience of the food and flowers and people through our craving. Don't we? And the same thing, when unpleasant things come, then we suffer because we have this aversion to unpleasant experiences, because that is causing me suffering. So get it out of here. And so it's that belief, it's that grasping that causes the suffering. If we realize interdependency and emptiness, pleasant experiences, we would enjoy them much more than we do now. Unpleasant experiences, we'd be able to deal with them without any aversion and suffering. We would help that person. If it's a person who's behaving in a very bad way, we would simply try and help that person to overcome that bad behaviour, rather than suffering because they're saying bad things about me. It's up to us, of course, you know. If someone is saying nasty things, we can make ourselves suffer because they're not really making us suffer. All they're doing is bouncing a few sound waves off our eardrum. That's all they're doing. We're doing the rest. Up to us if we want to suffer or we want to understand and try and help that person to overcome that negative behavior. It's up to us.
I felt like the two questions that we've asked until now about meditation, we were looking for the self, for example, and now we were looking for the self in the plant.
In the plant, yeah.
So I was like, I was looking for the self at the leaves, and then in the roots, and then at the stems, and I said, okay, so there's no self.
There's no plant.
There's no plant.
To be found in the basis.
Yes, so and then what? Like I feel it's like
so,
like after a minute I'm like solving the
right.
questions.
No. So what you see, this is what we're going. I'm just starting this. Tomorrow we're going to go into more. So when we do this with the person, see the thing is now we have this grasping onto this me here, and so if we search like we did the plant and we don't find, then that not finding is an experience of emptiness. So we simply rest in that experience of not finding with the understanding there's no plant to be found there, and hold that as long as we can. Because if we can hold that, we are holding an experience
of
emptiness.
Yes.
But the problem is, of course, we don't have a very stable mind, so we do this search and then we go, okay, what now?
Do you have anything?
What's that person doing over there? Or I need to get home. And then, of course, like everything in life, if we're not focused, it has no impact.
Yeah.
You know, we can, same thing, we can, if we've got a problem at work, complex problem, and we're trying to solve it, and we're sort of spaced out and distracted, well, we're never going to get anywhere, are we? Same thing here. We do this and we sort of you're not really there, and then we go, okay, now what? So again, if we do this with, that's why we need an intellectual framework of understanding, then we do the search with a stable, clear mind, and if we don't find, it should be like come as a shock, really, because we're certain there's a me here. We're certain. It's like the example I give is that you imagine if a person walks into a room and there's no way out except the door they went into, and you go in shortly afterwards looking for the person and you see an empty room. You'd be shocked, wouldn't you? It would have a very strong impact on you because you're certain he's there.
Yeah.
We're certain there's a me now. So if we do this in a very clear way, then it should be like a very strong experience. In fact, often, and this is what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but I'll bring it in now, is often when people do this, and if they do it in a very clear, methodical way, one of the most common experiences people have is fear. Big fear. Because the only me that we've identified with until now is this independent me. We've grasped onto our whole life. And so now in this meditation, we're looking for this independent me that seems to be here, and we're not seeming to find it. And so that not finding, the only me we've ever identified with is this me, this independent me, and then it feels like we're going out of existence. But what's going out of existence is self-grasping. So if we have a good intellectual understanding and we do this meditation and we come to this experience of not finding, instead of fear, we would have a lot of joy, understanding, wow, this independent me is not here, the one that's caused me so much suffering in my life, and then we just rest in that experience. And the more we can rest in that experience of not finding, the experience of emptiness, the more that will permeate our mind, which means when we come out of the meditation, we're still being affected by that no independent me here. And that's how we're going to relate to ourselves, probably for only a short time, and then the grasping will kick in. But during that time, we'll be understanding, realizing dependent me, dependent world, will be in harmony, more in harmony with world, much less craving, attachment, aversion, and much more kindness and compassion to others. And then we build on that. But this is still coming tomorrow.
I have a request.
Yeah.
At least for me, I guess that it would be helpful for me not to stay in the philosophical and cognitive thoughts, but to talk about the practice. And
Yeah.
I'm still stuck, maybe I'm not stuck with the plant. So, you know, we did a meditation about the plant, right? So I have a request. If after we do a meditation with your instructions, because we want to come to, at least for me, I have a need. If I want to share my experience or think what I experienced, I would like if we can, you know, each time go back to the meditation about the plant and talk about it. Because once we go to thoughts, I get lost.
Yeah, so that was I originally said. Is there any questions?
Yes, there is.
So, yeah. So that's what I'm wanting to do also tomorrow for each of the meditations is the very first thing, like you said, is, okay, any questions about that practice? So that's always my first wish, is to get people to give feedback about the practice.
Okay.
Of course, that's very important.
So may I ask something?
Yes, sure.
I don't know what I was supposed to see in the meditation, but, or answers, but there was a plant there for me.
Right. Good.
And the plant was in the water that was going from the roots to the trunk, through the branches to the leaves, and from the oxygen. So there was a plant in a process.
Correct.
The plant
Good.
wasn't an object. The plant was a process, a very vivid experience.
Very
So
good.
I,
Very good. So this is a correct understanding that the plant, like I said, at the physical world, is just process, no? It's just flow, process. And in that, we have to make sense of that process or flow, don't we? Otherwise we couldn't function. So we create concepts such as plant and so forth in that flow so we can understand, we can function. And this meditation then, what you're experiencing is to experientially see that rather than just intellectually understand that. And so the more we can experientially see things like this, the more it will have an impact on our mind, particularly if we're focused. And then after the meditation, we'll start to instinctively, experientially still see things like that as processes flow. Then big difference in how we behave in our life. in terms of attachment, aversion, and so forth. Because if everything's process and flow, what has attachment got to grab hold of if everything's process and flow? There's nothing to grab, nothing to push against. So you'll find that this sort of experience, if we can deepen it, translates into much less attachment and aversion to pleasant and unpleasant experiences as a starting point. And then we can go further.
So I have a question that is related to
Sure.
others. Like you said before, that okay, once we are willing to see the plant and let go of the stiff concept of plant.
Willing to.
I don't know, not willing, but it's there. I don't know how to say.
Yeah,
it,
sure.
But that you said that if we can stay in this
Experience in meditation, yeah. Seeing the plant correctly.
Yeah, and my question is like also it's related to what you said, that if like in my experience of observing meditation, like if I'm observing in myself, so it's in constant movement or in constant change, and now with the plant, so I had to do the same with my imagination. I have to stay in kind of movement. I don't like my attention is active. And my way to try to keep it active is like it's changing all the time. I'm observing stuff. Okay. So it's not like okay, there is no plant. I have nothing to do with this. I have to go with my imagination into the ground, into the roots, into the to be the plant, to be the water, to be the oxygen.
So there's two things in this meditation. Is that what you're describing is the investigation part, is looking and seeing. But then the Vipassana is insight. So by doing this process, then hopefully some insight will arise. Oh, there's no fixed plant there. When that insight arises, then stop investigating and just hold that insight, that realize. So at any time when you're doing that and you suddenly come to the insight, it's just process. It's just, whatever word you want to use. When you come to that insight through doing your investigation, then don't keep investigating. Just stop right there and hold that experience, that insight. It's just process, or it's purely dependent, or it's merely labelled. It's not independent. Whatever. Just hold that as long as you can. The more you can hold that with a stable mind, the more that experience will penetrate deeper into your mind, the more that will affect you after the meditation. So that's what we do in these Vipassana practices, is we go through some sort of investigation, looking, and then at some point, if we're doing a very methodical, clear investigation, we'll come to some conclusion or insight. Wow, it's process, it's not independent, it's whatever. And then as soon as we get to that point, then just hold that experience. Hold it. Just hold it. Just sit in that experience as long as you can. As long as you can. If you then just start spacing out or whatever, then you can go back and do more until you get the insight again, and then stop and hold it again. And so the more we can hold it, the more penetration into our mind, the more effect it'll have. So we need this combination of first investigating, and then when we come to some conclusion or insight, then hold that as long as we can. And then that's the Vipassana practice.
I'm a bit confused about the first one, the causes and conditions.
Okay.
Because from the example with the plant, not the meditation, just the example, what I see is that you kind of prove it wrong. You prove that there's no cause and conditions. You kind of prove that it's all just changing. There's no one thing turning into another thing.
What I showed, or I thought I showed, was that if we accept or believe things existing independently, then the whole idea of cause and effect becomes illogical. Meaning that, not that there's no cause and effect, it means that our original assumption that things are independent is actually invalid. So that's what I was trying to show, is that if we hold on to the idea that things are independent, then our normal common sense ideas of cause and result becomes illogical, it can't work. And why? Because our assumption is invalid, not because there's no cause and effect. There is cause and effect.
How is it working if the thing, like, okay, you prove that there are things, that the things are in, are not independent of each other.
Correct.
You also prove that there's no cause and effect.
No.
Why not?
No, because there is cause and effect, because, as we said over here, what we can say is that the physical world, there's just process, there's just flow.
Okay.
And within that, to make sense of it, we not only draw lines and create objects, but we create concepts such as cause and effect to help understand that flow. And that's a useful concept. And it works if we understand its flow. If we concrete it, make it solid and independent, then that whole concept just doesn't work anymore.
Okay, so it's like with the parts that are not really parts, it's just a concept that we're labeling.
Yeah, I mean, even like, this is part of a pen,
Yeah.
but can we find the part of the pen here? No, it's a concept that helps us to understand all this. This is a part of a pen, this is a part of a pen. As long as we understand that, and again, intellectually, it's quite easy to understand that. But again, what we're wanting in the Vipassana practice is to bring these intellectual understanding into experience, to experientially see things this way. Then things start to change in our life. So that's what we're doing with this.
What is the technique that we can practice at home? If we don't have someone guiding the meditation, how do I investigate?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, but a brief answer, the short answer now, is particularly with these sorts of Vipassana meditations, sometimes they involve a number of steps. So then it's good as a beginner to have a recording. And then you can listen to the recording until you become familiar with the various steps. And then you can let it go and then you know what to do. And then, of course, after some time, it's also good maybe to come back to it to make sure we haven't started to invent our own little sort of process where we sort of actually just spacing out to make sure that we're still sort of doing a correct approach and we're not just inventing some sort of thing that doesn't really help us. So
we need guidance.
Yes,
like shamatha that you can practice.
Yeah, I mean it's good. That's why it's good to get instruction. I mean that's the whole idea. Is you have a teacher that gives instruction, and then you follow that instruction. And then, I mean, in an ideal situation, of course, the teacher would give personal instruction. So we can talk about general stuff like this, but then as an individual, the teacher, if they're qualified, would like to say, okay, I think for you. I think best if you focus on your body or your mind or the person or whatever, and then they may give you very personal instructions about how to do this practice that most effective for you as an individual. You would go away and do that for some time, maybe some weeks or longer, hopefully diligently doing this. And then after some weeks or so, you'd come back and you'd say, okay, this is what happened in my practice. And then they'd go, okay, and then they would adjust. They may say, okay, keep going there, that's good. Or maybe now change this a little bit and go away and do that. So there'd be this constant feedback loop between the teacher and the student with this and other practices. So then you can really start to make some progress. And of course, if you come back and you say, oh, I had all these wonderful experiences and then often there's a story actually, I can't remember who it was, but it was some meditator, I think it was a Tibetan meditator, quite well known, but at the time he was a beginner, and he got some instructions and he went off and he had all these blissful sort of experiences and he was all excited and he came back and to the teacher and said, oh, I had all these blissful experiences and all this happened, and the teacher goes, boring, because it was just he was just grasping at some sort of thing. He wasn't doing the practice actually even properly. So he was like, It was being a bit hard on him. So that's why if we can have a teacher, because otherwise with these sorts of meditations, it's easy to particularly the shamatha vipassana, it's very easy to go off on a tangent. I mean, so easy to get caught up in some very spacious, blissful experiences and think, oh, I'm realizing emptiness, the nature of reality. And I mean, all we're doing is really spacing out. So very easy to do, and the meditation texts here are full of warnings about this. And that's why if we had a qualified teacher, they can sort of pull us in line and say, well, no, you're just spacing out here. You're not enlightened yet. You've still got a little bit of work to do.
For most of us, it's a big problem to practice this at home, even with recordings.
Yeah, so that's why it's not only helpful for that, but it's also very good to do like a retreat, like a group retreat for a week or 10 days, where you go into this practice in more depth, and then there's a teacher there that can, so then over a period of a week or 10 days, you're doing this many times every day, you get to iron out a lot of these like little side things that you are off. So hopefully after that period of a week or 10 days, more intensive retreat, then you've sort of got rid of a lot of the faults in your practice and you're really starting now to move in a good direction. So that's also very, very helpful. Because otherwise, like you said, you're at home on your own, no teacher, then of course it's easy to sort of end up all over the place. Of course. Okay. Just a couple things before we finish up today. So, as I said right at the beginning of this emptiness talk, is that we just have a mass of sense data and we have to do this line drawing to create objects, to make sense of the world, and we have to give them names so we can communicate. So no problem there, we have to do that, otherwise we couldn't function. Again, the problem is we don't realise that's what we're doing. We instinctively feel that the world is already divided up into many separate discrete things. So we're turning our lines that we draw into boundaries. We're seeing the world instinctively as made up of many separate discrete things already. So this is grasping. This is grasping onto independent existence. Now, what's the problem with this is, what's the problem with seeing the world as made up of many separate discrete things is exactly what we looked at this morning, this causes and suffering and its causes chart. That if we instinctively see the world is made up of separate things, independent, then of course when we experience something pleasant, we're going to naturally assume there must be some attractive quality there that's causing my pleasant experience. We're going to have a lot of attachment to those pleasant experiences, or if it's unpleasant, we're going to have aversion, because we're going to believe there's some unattractive quality there that's causing my unpleasant experience. So we're going to get in attachment, aversion, and a lot of big mess. Now, as I've already mentioned, and I just mention again, is we now tend to be stuck in what's called the two extremes. The extreme we're most often stuck in is this one, the extreme of existence, meaning believing and grasping on to things existing independently. So, of course, when we investigate this supposed independent world and we come to see that things are not existing independently, we come to realize dependent arising, we come to realize emptiness, then we are undermining that things are existing independently. Now, for us now, the only world that seems to exist is, it seems to be an independent real world there. So if we start to undermine that by realizing emptiness, realizing there's no independent world, then often people simply flip to the other extreme. And that's the extreme of non-existence or nihilism. And this is quite common, that when people first begin this practice and they have some sort of not finding experience, they misinterpret that emptiness experience as meaning, oh, nothing exists. And then they flip to the other extreme of nihilism. So to help us overcome that extreme of nihilism is to reflect on dependent arising, the fact that things do exist depending on causes and conditions, parts and conceptual framework. So by reflecting on dependent arising, it can help us to overcome the extreme of nihilism. So now, again, we often feel as if emptiness and functioning world seem to be contradictory. You know, I often hear people who've listened to some emptiness teachings in Buddhism, I often hear people saying, oh, it doesn't matter because everything's empty. This is a completely wrong understanding of emptiness. The correct understanding of emptiness is, because things are empty, everything matters. That's the correct understanding. Emptiness and dependent arising are two sides of a coin. So that's a measure of how our emptiness practice is working. If our emptiness practice is reinforcing our understanding that everything is interdependent, very good. And if our idea of interdependency is reinforcing the idea of emptiness, very good. This is a good sign that we're heading in the right direction. So we should be getting to the point where, because things are empty, they can function. And because things function, they must be empty. Empty of independent existence. Because if this cup, for example, existed independently, if it was a cup from its own side, if it had a unique nature of being a cup, we couldn't create it, it couldn't change, we couldn't destroy it, it couldn't function. But because it has no unique nature of being a cup from its own side, it means it can change, we can create it, we can destroy it, it can function. So this is a good sign that our emptiness understanding is going in a good direction, that by reflecting on emptiness, it's reinforcing our idea that everything is interdependent. That because things are empty, they can appear and they can function. These are two sides of the coin.
Why we call it emptiness? Why not we call it dependence?
Because of emptiness of self-existence.
Because emptiness, empty means lack. And emptiness means lack or absence of independent existence.
Okay.
So emptiness is describing reality through negating how things don't exist. Dependent arising is describing from the positive side how things do exist. They're two sides of a coin. They're talking about the same thing from two different perspectives.
So you have to combine the two contradictions.
Well, they're not contradictory. For us, they appear to be contradictory. That's what I'm saying, is if we can understand these two things are not contradictory, but they're actually two sides of a coin, very good, we're going very well. That's a good sign.
It's true that it's confusing because actually, in a way, it feels like stuff is much more full of stuff because it's dependent on so much stuff.
But what we can,
it's the opposite of emptiness.
right? But what we can, another thing, sometimes there's a sort of more poetic thing that people say here is emptiness is fullness, fullness is emptiness. Because actually, emptiness means infinite possibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and infinite existence also.
Infinite possibility. So this is the sort of the understanding. So, you know, when I hear people say, I sort of feel a bit sad when people say, oh, you know, Buddhist people, oh, because everything's empty, therefore it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just sort of going,
In Sanskrit, the word is emptiness?
yeah, shunyata. This is a very good translation. Shunyata is, shunya is actually zero. Zero.
Yeah, no wonder we make the mistake.
No, it's not a mistake. It's actually...
No, we understand emptiness in a mistaken way.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, I asked my friend who is handicapped, but If you would say it's handicapped, it means handicapped, missing something. Now you use the word emptiness. Our understanding emptiness is emptiness, vacuum, nothing.
Yeah.
But this is not what you mean.
No, that's right.
You mean to say handicapped is
No.
Missing something.
No, not missing something. It's not missing something, absence. So emptiness.
Okay.
So when we see the word emptiness, we have to immediately ask, empty of what? Empty of independent existence.
Of something.
Independent existence.
Any
Yeah.
You didn't finish the translation explanation.
Sorry?
You didn't finish the
Yeah.